The auction hall reeked of desperation and expensive perfume combination. That made Ruben's stomach turn as she stood on the platform, chains biting into her wrists. The Vulcarian auctioneer, a corpulent creature with 6 eyes and skin like oil-slicked leather, gestured toward her with one of his forearms, while the other 3 counted credits on a holographic display. "And here we have lot 73, the auctioneer announced, his voice dripping with theatrical disdain. "A Zendari female, approximately 20 standard cycles old. Note the scarring on the left side of her face, unfortunate birth defect, I'm told. The mines rejected her for being too weak. The factories rejected her for lacking proper cognitive function." He paused for effect, and Ruben heard the cruel laughter rippling through the crowd. Even the pleasure district of Vex Prime rejected her application. "Yes, my friends, even the brothels have standards." The laughter grew louder. Ruben kept her eyes fixed on the floor, her lavender skin flushed deep purple with shame. The scars that ran from her temple to her jaw seemed to burn under the harsh auction lights. In Zendari culture, physical perfection was next to godliness. She was neither. Starting bid, 500 credits. "Do I hear 500? The auctioneer's voice echoed through the hall. Silence. 400? 3 more silence, punctuated by whispers and snickers. "Oh, come now. Surely someone needs a servant who can at least scrub floors." 200 credits. "Nothing." The auctioneer sighed dramatically. "Very well. 100 credits, and I'll throw in complimentary transport to 5,000 credits. The voice cut through the mockery like a blade through flesh. The entire auction hall fell silent. Ruben's head snapped up, her violet eyes searching for the source of the voice. At the back of the hall stood a human, a species she'd only heard about in whispers. Humans were rare in this sector, known for their odd sense of honor and their baffling emotional decisions. This one was male, tall by human standards, with dark skin and eyes that seemed to hold both kindness and steel. He wore the practical clothing of a trader, nothing fancy, but he stood with the bearing of someone who knew exactly what he was worth. "I said 5,000 credits, the human repeated, walking down the center aisle. His boots clicked against the metal floor with purpose. The auctioneer's eyes widened, all 6 of them. "Sir, are you certain? The specimen is, I heard your description," the human said, his voice level but carrying an edge that made the auctioneer's mouth snap shut. 5,000 credits. Do you accept, or should I take my business elsewhere? Credits were credits. The auctioneer's greed won over his confusion. "As sold. To the human gentleman for 5,000 credits. Hawley paid without hesitation, his credit chip barely making a sound as it processed the transaction. He approached the platform where Ruben still stood, frozen in disbelief. Up close, she could see the lines around his eyes, laugh lines, she thought. Though his expression now was serious. "My name is Hawley Chen," he said softly, reaching up to unlock her chains. His fingers were gentle, careful not to touch the raw skin beneath the metal. "I'm a merchant trader. I run a small cargo ship called the Wandering Star." Ruben's voice came out as a whisper, rusty from disuse. Why did I buy you?" Hawley asked, stepping back as the chains fell away. He offered her his hand, not to pull her, just offered, leaving the choice to her. "Because everyone deserves a chance, and because the way they talked about you made me angry." She stared at his outstretched hand. In all her 20 cycles, no one had ever offered her a choice. Slowly, trembling, she placed her scarred hand in his. His grip was warm, steady. "Come on," he said. "Let's get you out of here." The Wandering Star was nothing like Ruben expected. It was clean but lived in, with personal touches that spoke of a home rather than just a vessel. Hawley showed her to a small cabin, her cabin. He emphasized and left her with clean clothes, medical supplies for her wrists, and a promise that dinner would be ready in an hour. She sat on the bed, softer than anything she'd ever felt, and wept when she emerged an hour later, following the smell of cooking food. She found Hawley in the galley, stirring something in a pot. He looked up and smiled. "I hope you like noodles. It's a human dish, comfort food from Earth. My grandmother's recipe." Ruben sat carefully at the small table. "I don't understand," she said finally. "You paid 5,000 credits for me. I'm worthless. Even the brothels." "Stop," Hawley said firmly, but not unkindly. He set down his spoon and turned to face her fully. "Let me tell you something about humans, Reuben. We have a long, ugly history of treating people like property, of judging worth by appearance or ability. We nearly destroyed ourselves because of it, but we learned painfully, slowly, that every person has intrinsic value, not because of what they can do or how they look, but because they're a person." He ladled noodles into 2 bowls and set one in front of her. "You're not worthless. You're not property. And you're not stuck with me. Once we reach Proxima Station in 2 weeks, you're free to go wherever you want. I'll give you enough credits to start over. And if I have nowhere to go?" Reuben asked, her voice small. Holly sat down across from her. "Then you're welcome to stay and work on my crew, as an employee, with a salary and quarters and days off. Your choice." Reuben picked up her spoon, her hands still shaking slightly. The noodles were warm and savory, unlike anything she'd ever tasted. "Why are you being kind to me?" Holly was quiet for a moment, looking down at his own bowl. "Because someone was kind to me once, when I needed it most. And because humans believe that how we treat the most vulnerable among us defines who we are." He looked up, meeting her eyes without flinching from her scars. "You're not vulnerable anymore, Reuben. Not on my ship. Here, you're safe. Here, you matter." For the first time in her life, Reuben believed it. 2 weeks later, when the Wandering Star docked at Proxima Station, Holly prepared the promised credits and waited for Reuben's decision. She stood at the airlock, looking out at the bustling station beyond, then back at the ship that had become her home. "I'd like to stay," she said. "If the offer still stands." Holly smiled, that warm expression reaching his eyes. "Welcome to the crew, Reuben." She smiled back, a real smile, the first and longer than she could remember. The scars on her face didn't hurt quite so much anymore. In the cold vastness of space, where cruelty and commerce often went hand in hand, one human had proven that kindness was not weakness, it was strength. And Reuben, once rejected by all, had finally found where she belonged.